Dive into the vortex of global uncertainty. Picture a world where giants clash, yet neither is fully armed for the colossal showdown. The monumental mobilization needed for global conflict is staggering, and until the first shots echo, the true resource scope remains a mystery. Join us on an exploration of unprecedented proportions, where strategy meets unpredictability, nations hang in the balance, and war's true nature unfolds. Brace for impact. This is the countdown to an unparalleled global showdown. As global tensions escalate between the United States and China, there is a growing concern among politicians, experts, and even America's military leaders about the potential for a more serious conflict. The deteriorating relations prompt a pressing question. How well prepared is the U.S. to address escalating threats from Beijing, and what measures are in place to navigate such a challenging scenario? The prospect of war in the Western Pacific, while not an immediate threat, hovers as a potential reality, as per expert assessments. The crux of this narrative lies in the hypothetical scenario where the United States and China, major geopolitical players, find themselves entangled in conflict. The spark, it is believed, could ignite from a Chinese military offensive directed at Taiwan, a self-run democratic island that Beijing staunchly claims as its own, viewing it as a direct challenge to its authoritative grip. President Joe Biden emerges as a pivotal figure in this unfolding drama, breaking away from the established norm of strategic ambiguity. He unequivocally asserts that the United States would stand in defense of Taiwan should China launch an attack, marking a departure from the nuanced approach of previous administrations. Yet, the plot thickens with additional potential triggers for conflict. Beyond the contested territorial claims over Taiwan, the South China Sea becomes a stage for tension. Here, the United States and China, locked in rivalry, navigate the waters where military ships and aircraft often share an uneasy proximity. The specter of war thus extends beyond the island dispute, encompassing the broader context of China's militarization in this strategic maritime region. While immediate danger may not be imminent, the possibility of conflict casts a shadow over this geopolitical narrative. The stage is set, and the players tread cautiously as the world watches to discern whether the spotlight will focus on Taiwan or the contested waters of the South China Sea in the unfolding drama of major power rivalries. American intelligence voices have labeled China as the most significant threat to U.S. national security. Experts caution that engaging in a conflict with Beijing would unleash a cascade of military challenges catching the U.S. off guard. The aftermath of such a war could devastate military forces and throw the global economy into chaos, a grim scenario with extensive repercussions. The battleground with China would span across various fronts, encompassing the skies, seas, cyberspace, and financial markets. Despite holding numerous advantages, the U.S. finds itself weakened due to years of neglect and complacency, highlighting key areas that require fortification to effectively counteract threats from China. Esteemed figures like General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, align in the belief that the United States must enhance its preparedness. While it would be foolhardy to predict the outcome of a war between the U.S. and China, the possibility of it happening certainly has experts warning that America is unprepared. During World War II, the United States demonstrated unparalleled industrial prowess in rapidly producing warships and aircraft. Notably, the Navy's efficiency allowed for the swift construction and recovery of damaged vessels, exemplified by the revival of the USS Nevada. However, since the Cold War's conclusion, America's manufacturing capabilities, particularly in defense production, have declined. The current landscape presents challenges such as prolonged construction times for Navy ships, influenced by various factors like altered priorities, technological advancements, and overseas labor costs. According to Dan Blumenthal, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, addressing these issues is crucial for the U.S. to be prepared for potential high-intensity conflicts, particularly given the multifaceted military capabilities of strategic competitors. Reversing trends of budget overruns and delayed schedules in defense production is imperative for ensuring readiness against unprecedented challenges. In contrast to China's robust industrial sector, the U.S. lags significantly behind. Control of the Pacific is pivotal in a potential conflict with China, and Beijing possesses the world's largest navy with approximately 340 ships and submarines, surpassing the U.S. fleet of fewer than 300 warships, as per a 2022 Pentagon report. China not only outnumbers the US, but also demonstrates quicker and smoother shipbuilding processes. Both nations initiated new destroyer classes in the 2010s, with China's Type 055, exemplified by the prompt delivery of the Nanchang upon commissioning. In comparison, the technologically advanced USS Zumwalt faced delays, taking 4 years from commissioning to delivery due to various issues, despite its stealth capabilities. Navigating the currents of China's naval expansion, the U.S. confronts challenges in ship and submarine construction due to limited shipyards and a skilled labor deficit. Undeterred, the U.S. is resolute in expanding its fleet to 350 ships by the 2040s, incorporating unmanned assets. Despite China's numerical naval superiority, the U.S. maintains a technological edge. Its Ford-class and vintage Nimitz-class carriers surpass China's Liaoning, Shandong, and Fujian counterparts. Submarine tracking poses another hurdle for China, according to Blumenthal. However, these advantages are precarious, susceptible to erosion if the U.S. fails to fortify itself against China's adeptness in military technology acquisition. The urgent task at hand is initiating strategic measures promptly, ensuring America remains poised and prepared in the event of any potential conflict with China. The hypothetical escalation of economic competition between the U.S. and China, akin to a financial battlefield, poses severe consequences for the global economy, potentially surpassing the impact of the 1929 Great Depression, warns Glenn O'Donnell, a vice president at Forrester. Recognizing the risks of dependency on China for critical inputs in pharmaceuticals, electric vehicles, and more, the U.S. aims to enhance domestic production, particularly in semiconductor chips. Given that 90% of advanced semiconductors are produced by TSMC in Taiwan, the U.S. faces vulnerability. To reduce dependence, the U.S. enacted legislation like the CHIPS and Science Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, offering significant incentives to bring semiconductor manufacturing back domestically, accompanied by export controls to hinder China's semiconductor industry. In the event of a conflict between the U.S. and China, repercussions would extend beyond physical goods to financial markets. Sanctions, akin to those imposed on Russia, would likely be enforced by the U.S. and its allies, severely damaging the Chinese economy, according to Scott Kennedy, a China economy expert. However, the strategic deployment of sanctions presents a complex challenge, necessitating careful consideration of effectiveness and the need for allied cooperation. The delicate task involves inflicting economic pressure while retaining options for future actions. National security experts have proposed the creation of a U.S. Economic Contingency Planning Committee, emphasizing the imperative to formulate diverse sanction strategies in response to a potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan. While the U.S. economy would undoubtedly be affected by a conflict, the greater anticipated impact on China's economy could serve as a deterrent. The substantial asymmetry in economic consequences, with China potentially enduring 100 times more than the U.S., underscores the strategic value of interdependence in averting conflicts. Kennedy emphasizes that such interdependence is valuable for the U.S. precisely because of the disproportionate economic toll a war would inflict on China. The U.S. must extend its preparedness for potential conflicts with China beyond its physical capabilities, recognizing that wars demand robust alliances strategically and ideologically. In addition to addressing rusty manufacturing skills, diplomatic prowess has also dwindled. Strengthening hard power in the Western Pacific is crucial, with recent positive steps like deploying Marine units in Japan, increased submarine visits in Australia, and plans for a submarine base. However, more is needed, including fortifying bases in allied nations against Chinese missile threats. Enhancing soft power involves cultivating stronger ties with allies, particularly those economically linked to China. The successful imposition of semiconductor export controls, echoed by Japan and the Netherlands, demonstrates the efficacy of such cooperative measures in exerting influence. To confront the potential of conflict with China, America must prioritize rebuilding its naval capabilities, semiconductor industry, and diplomatic alliances. Revitalizing long-neglected industrial and diplomatic strengths is daunting, but experts concur that the United States possesses the necessary resources for resurgence, contingent on national determination. Despite addressing production challenges and securing allies, the grim truth persists. Engaging in a war with China would exact a substantial toll on all participants. devastating both military forces and economies. The imperative lies not only in preparation, but also in acknowledging the profound and far-reaching consequences such a conflict would entail. Kennedy emphasized the limits of preparation, stressing that eventually, one must confront the outcomes. He underscored the critical significance of diplomacy and navigating differences constructively as an essential means to address challenges.